Hey everybody, good morning. Well, at least it's morning where I am. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful day here in East Tennessee, so I want to get out there and enjoy it. But before I do, let's talk about lead magnets and how to use Facebook ads to promote them. So there's going to be a few things that we're going to go over, and as you know, hopefully by now, you don't have to look at my face the whole time. So I'm going to take myself out of the way and let's go ahead and get started. All right, so here's some of the things that we're going to be covering, and I'm going to go over these just real quick and then in detail in just a moment. But of course, when you're doing a lead magnet, the thing about it is that you have to provide the right message for the right market. I mean, that's true with anything in marketing, right? If you're not providing the right message, it doesn't matter, what market you're in, and vice versa. If you're not, if you're providing the wrong message to a specific market, then it's not going to work out either. And so the lead magnet really has to be a good one. But what we're going to talk about mostly is the input of the Facebook ad and how to make that work. So we'll actually talk about Power Editor input, setting up a campaign, using how to name it, how to set up for conversions. We will talk about a little bit about the Facebook Pixel along those lines, because that is important and that's something you need to do. I'll have a different training on how to install the Facebook Pixel. But we'll get there with that in just a few minutes. We'll talk about how to set up the ad set, which is the part that has to do with the budget, the placement, how to optimize your ads, and how, most importantly, how to target them. And then we're going to cover the ad itself. The image, copy. We'll talk about using videos a little bit. And how that would work in with what you're trying to do with your lead magnet. But first, I want to jump back up here on this page to just kind of talk about the first thing that you really have to know on lead magnet conversions and how to get people to opt in, and that's you have to provide tremendous value even if it's free, because now, and even before really, but now people want value for giving up their email address, because that's what you're doing. You're charging them their email address to get the free thing, and they know that, and so they don't want to get stuff that's not really of interest to them or is not super compelling. So I've had clients tell me many times that, hey, it's free, why wouldn't they opt in? Well, that's because they don't see the value in it. How's it going to help their life? How's it going to benefit their life? How's it going to make it better? And so before you put together your lead magnet, a couple of things you should do. One is you want to identify your ideal client first, and I have a questionnaire, I think it's in the group, that you can look at. There's 19 questions about how to identify, understand, and reach your ideal client, and so that's a good place to start. If you already have something like that filled out and you're still trying to get some ideas, what I would do is join Facebook groups that your ideal client, where they're most likely to reside and be talking. So if you're doing marketing, maybe you join the Freedom Hackers group, right, with Kimra Luna or something like that, or if you're doing most businesses actually, and you're going to see people talking about things that are going to relate to what you're offering, and people are going to sit there and tell you exactly what their struggles are, exactly what's keeping them up at night, what they're trying to accomplish. And so you just create your lead magnet around that. So one of the worst things we can all do is try to think that we are our ideal client. That's just not a good way to go about it, because we're going to be biased one way or the other. And so the ideal clients will tell us what they want. We don't have to guess. They'll tell us. We just have to be open-minded and listen to what they're saying. So that's like I was just getting at, you just really have to provide tremendous value. And so I just want to kind of share a couple of things about that. And speaking of the Freedom Hackers group, they used to do this thing, and I don't know if they still do or not because I haven't been in it in a while, but where every one day a week people could share their lead magnet and ask people to opt in. Kimmer would allow for that. And so one week that they did it, I opted in for absolutely everything that was on that page. And it was like 60 or 80 opt-ins or something like that. And what I found very interesting was, and I can't remember the exact numbers, but I want to say like 30%, probably it was about a third of them, I never got an email, never got the opt-in. It wasn't on the thank you page. I never got an opt-in. So people are promoting their opt-in, but even people who are trying to opt in aren't getting it. And so that was one thing. Another thing is that I would get the opt-in, but it wasn't what they said it was. In other words, either the names didn't match, or maybe what they said it does one thing or is one thing, but it was actually another. And something else is, I would say a good 80% of them or more that I got. The funniest thing about them is they were terrible. Okay, I don't care about the layout so much, and how pretty it is, because it's the information that's important. Okay, the layout's a secondary kind of issue, so I wasn't really judging them on that, but the information that they gave me was just not compelling, and I almost felt like with some of them I almost felt cheated. Like, I gave you my email address for this, and you don't want somebody walking away with that feeling. Okay, so your opt-in really needs to be pretty tremendous, because what it's going to do is it's going to set the tone for people saying, man, if they're giving this away for free, their paid stuff must be awesome, or something like that. So anyway, that's kind of my little spiel on that. The other thing is that let's talk about the landing page for the opt-in. So I'm going to show you a couple of different ones that are really high converting. And landing page for opt-ins really, for the most part, do not need to be extravagant. I mean, there's not really any need to convince them to get the opt-in. The Facebook ad should have done that already. They should, when they clicked on the ad, it should be a mere, hey, yeah, these things are congruent. The ad, the page looks congruent. This is what I wanted. Here's my email. Go. That's it. So just to kind of give you an example, here's my sales funnel calculator. Ooh, and I hope I still have my the actual ad for this pulled up, and if I don't, I'll pull it up in just a second. But this right here is a calculator that I give away, and this is the page that they land on. And you can see it's not super pretty, so to speak, but that's not the goal. The goal of the page is to get the email, all right? And so here's what the ad looks like. So the ad is, a fairly long copy ad, okay, which, what I'm doing right here is just trying to identify with them by saying, raising kids, because I'm targeting, people who have kids, who are entrepreneurs, are trying to run their household, and they're trying to, get all this stuff done, and they're worried about whether or not they can make a profit, and they don't even know the numbers. So I just kind of address that in the ad, and then I, do bullet point 4 or 5 things, and that's it. So here's the image that I use on the ad. Again, not some kind of super fancy image. I wanted to use something that was just very clear on what it was offering, okay? Because it's about the offer. It's not about the image, okay? Now, that being said, you do want the image to be congruent with what you're doing for the most part. And so it is. So when they clicked on this ad, they see the image again, very similar. And then, hey, it's just a matter of entering in their email address. That's it. So this page for about the past 2 months has converted about 65%, somewhere in that neighborhood on average. So that's not bad. That's exactly where you want to be with your opt-ins. Anything above 40% is usually a good start. Another one I wanted to show you real quick is, boy, and I hope I didn't save this. Okay, so this page right here. Okay. Oh, okay. So no, what this is right here is the landing page roundup for lead pages in February, and so this page I'm getting ready to show you was one I created. It was the top converting landing pages for the month. That's why they featured it. It's this one right here. Let me show you the actual page. That's it right here. Here it is. Okay, so this is the page. And so this page was converting at like 77, 78%, something like that. And it was just killing it, man. I mean, we had 600 and some opt-ins in just a few days. It was just killing it. Of course, we were spending some money to get them, but it was very profitable. It's been a very good opt-in for us. And so you can see how simple it is right here. And when you scroll down, there's not just a huge amount of stuff to distract them. You do want a lot of stuff typically when you're doing a sales page, but for stuff like this, make it easy on them. Make it easy for them to opt in, and that's what I did here, and that's why it has been converting so well. So that's really all I wanted to say on the landing pages and the opt-in itself. I just wanted to kind of get that foundation out of the way, and now we're going to start into how to actually do the ads. So if you're in Facebook, right, what you'll do is you'll click right here and go to manage ads. I mean, there's a couple of different ways you can get there, but this is the way that I normally go, and I click manage ads. It'll bring up your ads manager, and so your ads manager will look something like this. Once you get there, we're going to go to the Power Editor. Now, I'm not going to tell you can't use the ads manager, but what I am going to say is if you're afraid of the Power Editor, you're probably going to need to kind of push past that. It's not that complicated. It's not that bad, really, once you get used to it. It's very similar to the Ads Manager. The other thing I just kind of want to mention to you is, as I'm going through this, and I meant to say this earlier, is that at any point you start getting overwhelmed with this stuff, that's perfectly normal, first of all. Second thing is that just step back from it. Just put it down. Forget it. Turn this video off and go do something else for a while and come back to it. It'll probably make more sense when you do. At least it does for me. I mean, I've had some of my, the other people that I've done trainings for, that's what they've said has worked well for them. Okay, so I'm going to go on into Power Editor. So if I'm in Ads Manager, why you can't go straight to the Power Editor, I don't know. But anyway, so I click right here. And by the way, just real quick, in Ads Manager, this is a great place to look at your reports and how your ads are doing. This is where I look at all mine. I don't look at the reporting done in Power Editor because it's not exactly accurate, or it won't be exactly what I'm looking for. So now I'm going to go into Power Editor, and so I click here, and if you don't see Power Editor listed right here, click on All Tools and it'll open up this. Normally this wouldn't be open, but it'll open up this and look for Power Editor. Don't worry if mine looks a little different than yours. That's the way they all are. So let's see here. Now when I get to Power Editor, it's going to look just like this. Now if you haven't ever created any campaigns or anything, this is what you're going to see. And so what we're going to do is go ahead and set up a campaign. But before I do, I want to talk to you just a little bit about the Facebook Pixel. So whenever we're doing a campaign for almost anything, not everything, but almost, we want to make sure that we have our Facebook Pixel installed. And so if you don't know how to install it, or you're confused by it or something like that, I will have a training about it. The only challenge is that installing the Facebook Pixel is different on different platforms if you're using on your website. So if you're using WordPress, or you're using Wix, or you're using Squarespace, or whatever it is, okay, it's a different way. Now the good news is that you can, if you have a web person, you can just email it to them and they'll install it and you don't have to worry about it. That's probably the best way. If you don't, you can probably send it straight over to your 15-year-old neighbor that lives across the street and just tell them, you need it installed, and they'll do it for you. So, I mean, to me, that seems the easiest thing. Otherwise, I'll have that video for you. But one way or another, you need to have the Facebook Pixel installed sooner rather than later, because if you don't, you won't be able to track people who come to your page, and you won't be able to track the conversions, meaning the people who took the action and in this case opted in for you. So you definitely want to do that. You want to install it sooner rather than later. And I'll kind of walk you through a couple of reasons why when we get through the campaign setup. So when you're here, you want to click on Create Campaign. If you don't see Create Campaign, click right here. And by the way, again, if yours doesn't look exactly like this, don't worry about it. Facebook changes this often. And so mine probably gets updated a little sooner because I do a lot of Facebook ads. But if yours doesn't look exactly like this, it will be similar. So, you'll just kind of have to look at it and kind of match things up a little bit. So click Create Campaign. We're going to name our campaign. I always name my campaign by what I'm doing, and so that I can take a look at it at a glance and get the information that I need. So I usually put LM for lead magnet. That just makes sense to me. In this case, it's the calculator, and I'm going to put the country that I'm running it to. I usually don't run it to more than one country at a given time, only because if you do that, Facebook will end up picking the country it gets shown to the most and doesn't give me the data that I'm looking for. And often I will put, not always, but often I'll put the date that the ad is starting. Okay, so I can kind of look at that and remember. For some reason in Facebook, it's always very difficult to tell when you started the ad, what day. So that just makes it easier for me. I'm gonna, if you have the Facebook Pixel installed everywhere, you're gonna change this campaign objective from traffic to conversions. Don't get caught up in this other stuff. Conversions. If you don't have the Facebook Pixel installed, leave it at traffic. And now I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it right here on the ad set name. So the campaign level is the overview. The ad set has to do with, again, optimizing, budgeting, who you're targeting, that kind of thing. And then at the ad level, I'm going to paste it right here. And this is the creative part, the copy the image or video and that kind of thing. Now, why am I naming these the same thing? I will change the name of this one and this one in just a minute, but I just have to kind of get past this page right here. So I'm going to click Create, and it's going to take me to the campaign level. Not really much to do or see here. There's nothing to change. It's already set up. I'm going to click on the ad set. So I went from campaign to ad set, and I'm going to choose my conversion event. So this is assuming you have your Facebook Pixel installed, and on the thank you page of the opt-in. So in this case, let's just look at this. So the Facebook Pixel's installed. I can on this page. Once somebody enters in their email and they click Get Your Calculator Now, it'll take you to a thank you page. That thank you page has a special additional bit of code, which you don't have to understand or anything like that, that will tell Facebook that's a conversion. So if somebody, when somebody types in their email and clicks that, then Facebook knows it's a conversion. And so what I'm doing right here in the Power Editor is I'm telling Facebook, hey, the code that I have on that thank you page is what I want to count as the conversion. And in this case, it's, whoops, sorry about that. It's the, let me try that again. It's the lead pixel. Okay. And it really could be any of these. This is just the one that I chose. All right. So now that I have the lead, and by the way, once somebody converts, this will be green instead of red. Okay. And so I scroll down, I enter in my budget amount. So let's just talk about budgeting real quick. Budgeting is a very touchy thing because, we're all trying to, get the most leads at the least, cost and that kind of thing. The problem with stuff like this is that you don't always know what it's going to cost per lead up front. Okay, Facebook can do estimates for you, but I found that oftentimes they're not accurate. So there's a lot of theories out there about, you should do a bunch of different, ad sets to different targeting audiences at $5 a day and run them all at once. And then there's people that say, no, you need to put them all in one and just run a higher budget to one. And so what's the answer? Well, the answer is they're both right. Okay, those both work in their own way. Okay, so what I'm going to tell you is that I prefer to get to know quickly. I want to find out what's not working sooner rather than later. And the people that I've trained before, what I've found is that if we run lower budgets, it takes so long to gather the appropriate data that people can't stand it. They look at their ads and they want to keep changing them. And that's one of the worst things you can do is keep changing the ad. Make sure your ad is good the first time and let it run for a little while. Let Facebook help you figure out, who your ideal audience is. I know you don't want to waste money. I don't want to waste money either, but it's just as bad to sit there and keep changing it and hopes that that one little tweak or changing the image or changing the target audience, every other day, I mean, that's just as bad to do that. That's just as much a waste of money as it is to let it run and it not be working out. The difference is that if you let it run, you're going to be gathering data that you can use to make the right adjustments. I hope that makes sense. So I usually tell people, try to do at least $10 a day per ad set. I mean, do what you can do, right? But at least do $10 a day. And this one I'm going to leave 20, okay, and just leave it for the moment. I'm not going to set an end run date, but you can click right here. If you don't feel like you can monitor your ads, click end run on and then put the date you want it to stop. And as I scroll down, I want you to be mindful of this area over here. These are the estimated number of people we're going to reach on a daily basis. This is going to change. And so this is on Facebook and this is on Instagram. And one of the things I'm going to show you here just a minute, and how these numbers will change. And I'll come back to it shortly. So let's go with my targeting audience. So in this particular case, I'm running at people who are 25 to 55, and that's pretty broad. Most of the time, you'll be a little more narrow than that. But let's just say, for example, your targeting audience is, women who are 35 to 50. You might want to expand that a little on your lead magnet. Instead of 35 to 50, do 30 to 55. And part of the reason is you're going to find that it's still going to be within your appropriate age range, just for variations that Facebook has on people's actual age. So I would broaden it just a little bit for your lead magnet. So you select the age. If you're targeting women, then obviously click women. And now we're going to enter in our interests. So what I was talking to you about, or what I've talked about quite a bit, is as targeting people that your people are interested in, or whatever interest they're interested in. So one thing to put out there is hey, so what about let's just do weight loss. Because that's a huge thing, right? There are so many ads and stuff out there about weight loss, so how do you target it? Well, maybe you have found out that your people really like Mind Body Green, right? So I type in Mind Body Green, and so now once I've typed that in, it's going to give me some other options. But if I hover over Mind Body Green, it says I could reach about 2.2 million people. Well, that's true, you could, but that's you're probably not going to, because Facebook's going to narrow it down based on these things right here: the age, location, gender, that kind of thing. So I'm going to leave Mind Body Green in there for just a minute, and I'm going to say, okay, I do want people who like Mind Body Green, but I also only want them if they're parents. So I'm going to narrow my audience, and I'm going to look for parents. And I would want parents as a demographic, not an interest. So if I had parents as an interest, that just means they're interested in it. But I actually want people who are parents. Okay, so I click on that. And so now I've narrowed it down. And you can literally keep doing that. You click narrow further or exclude people. Say I wanted to exclude people who don't like a particular political party. Well, I could do that, or whatever. You can really narrow that down, but you really don't want to do too many. Usually one is enough. So in other words, they have to like Mind Body Green and must also be a parent. Okay, so that's how you narrow that down. I'm going to uncheck the expand interests. I have found that it doesn't really work that well. Okay, and once I do, it's probably going to start, these numbers are probably going to change significantly. Like if I check expand interest, it's got me at 24 million people, 21 million of which are active users on Facebook. But if I uncheck it, it's going to put me at 310,000 people, 230,000. That's a much better number for me. The reason is because 21 million people that you're targeting, you're not going to get in front of enough of the right people with that many. You want to keep your targeting audience maximum 2 million. Okay, maybe 2.5. That's it, max. If you can get it to between 500,000 and 1.5 million, that's usually your best bet. So I just want to kind of show you something. So based on the amount of money I'm spending, this $20, I'm going to reach between 1,100 and 2,800 people a day. So how many people do you need to reach before you know if your ad's working? Well, there's two caveats to that. One, no, there's not two caveats, but there's two things to that. One is you want to get to at least, between 1,500 to 2,000 people total before you know whether or not your ad's working. The second part of that is well, you want to do that. You want to let the ad run at least for 4 or 5 days if you can. And the reason is because your ads will fluctuate. So, and I think I've shared this a couple of times, but on my calculator opt-in, and I actually show this image and I know the day by now. I've been running it for 2 months, but if I looked at just the day January 9th, my calculator, let me see if I can find that for you real quick. You don't need to see that. Disregard the background. Yeah, here it is. So if I looked at just January 9th, I had 16 opt-ins at $1.27. So if I look at that, I'm thinking, yeah, that's great. Let's ramp that up, right? If I look at that one day. But if I looked at the same ad, same exact ad, right? 5 days later, one registration cost me almost $20. So if I looked at that one day, I'd be saying, oh, no, I got to cut that off. And so my point to that is that they go up and down. All right, one day is usually not a definitive thing. And so you have to give it a little bit of time. And over time, it ends up being about $3 an opt-in, and that's what I was looking for. Okay, so I just know that they go up and down. So it's easy to be very, knee-jerk. And I guess what I was trying to get at is that if you're doing this, you can look at one day and say, oh, it's working or it's not working, but you may not know after just looking at one given day. So if you're like, yeah, but my budget, I don't want to spend $20 a day. Okay, well, let's go down to $10 and see how many people I can reach. So I'm going to reach between 640, to 1,700. Well, that's not too bad. Okay, so maybe I could let that run for 4 or 5 days. So that's going to put me, that 5 days is going to put me at $50 in ads. And that's probably going to give me enough data to tell whether or not the ad is working or needs to be tweaked. I hope that makes sense to you guys. You can kind of play around with the budget and look at your reach. If this is right, if this 640 is right, then in 2 days I'll get 1,200 people at least looking at the ad, which is okay. I mean, that's pretty close. And so that should give me some reasonable data to understand. So I hope that makes sense to you. All right. I might also want to add another, an interest, which you can. Maybe I want to add, and if I click here, it's going to give me some suggestions. So maybe I want to add Wellness Mama. Okay, so now my potential reach has gone up to 370,000. Generally, I want to try to get above 500,000 because if I don't, it's harder for the Facebook pixel to optimize for you. So, I might add somebody else like that I know it's pretty big, like Mercola, right? And maybe, well, let's do David Wolf. Let's see he's got a pretty big deal. So now I'm at 1.1 million of people I can reach. And that's pretty close. Okay. So there's my audience. And something. One thing I wanted to mention to you that can be kind of a good thing sometimes. I'm going to take these audiences out of here. Is sometimes it's good to target the opposite of what people are into. So, for example, if I'm targeting people like Mind Body Green, these are people who are already into health, right, in some form or another. They're thinking about it, they've done it, they're whatever. So maybe I don't do that. Maybe instead I target McDonald's, right? And so now that's a whole different audience. Now, one thing with targeting McDonald's is you're going to get too many people. Okay, so you really have to narrow that down. So I would narrow down my age range. I would also narrow down by other interests and so forth. But the reason I say that is because anybody who's interested in McDonald's, let me back up. Nobody who likes McDonald's doesn't think, hey, I shouldn't be eating McDonald's. You know, I mean, nobody's out there thinking, yes, this is a good thing that I like McDonald's, right? Or I like Coca-Cola, or I like Wendy's, or whatever it is. So these people know that they need to do something about it, right? So sometimes it's good to take the complete opposite approach. I recently did this for a challenge for somebody, and we had opt-ins at 60, 70 cents a piece. I mean, we just killed it. So, you know, sometimes you want to do stuff like that is take the opposite approach. So let me back up and just kind of take that out of there and go back to what we had before real quick. If I can remember, mind, body, green, there it is. Wellness Mama, Mercola, Wolf, good. And parents, I believe it was. We'll narrow it down by parents. Demographics, that's it. And there's a lot of options in it. I don't know if you saw that or not, but see, you know, say you just wanted people who had parents of 6 to 8 year olds, you know, or whatever, 3 to 5. I mean, there's all kinds of options in there. And so now, as I scroll down the page, I'm going to go to my connections, and I'm going to exclude people who like my page. They already like me. I don't need to try to get them to like me again. And now for the placements. This is kind of a crucial thing on the placements. Don't let Facebook choose it for you. I'm going to edit my placements. In most cases, and especially if you watch the webinar training at all, you want to separate out your lead magnet by desktop and mobile. However, you want to separate out your webinar by desktop and mobile. For lead magnets, we're just going to leave them grouped together. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but for now, just leave them grouped together. You can separate them out later once you start getting data in. Now, Facebook literally just added this little drop down here for Instagram, but I want you to open up the drop downs for Facebook and Instagram. Uncheck everything down through here except for feeds. The only place we want to show it is in the Facebook feed. Uncheck, 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 uncheck. You don't want to show it on Instagram. It's okay to show ads on Instagram. There's nothing wrong with showing ads on Instagram. It's just that if you're going to run ads there, you have to make sure that the creative part of it looks right. Because the way it's going to look on Facebook, it's going to look different on Instagram. So you would create a completely separate ad for Instagram. I hope that makes sense. And the other stuff is not really going to get us our end result. So as I scroll down, you know, and if you're keeping an eye over here, so now I'm at 620 to 1,600 people a day on Facebook that I'll get in front of. I'm going to scroll down, and I want to optimize for conversions, and I want to do it one day after clicking, and that's it on the ad set. That's all you have to do. I know that was a lot, and I hope, like I said, if that was like, oh man, that's just a lot of information, you know, that's okay. Come back to it. And look at it again after you've kind of taken a break. So let's go ahead and jump into the ads. And so as I click on the ad itself, oops, you may have to scroll up. I don't know why it does that. Oh, I'm so sorry. Can I jump back to the ad set real quick? I apologize. Let me fix this real quick. So I click on the ad set. It's naming it. Okay, so what I'm trying to do right here is I want to be sure that so that when I'm looking at my reports, I can know who I'm targeting. So I'm going to rename this and kind of put in, you know, these names, and I might abbreviate them a little bit. So I might say the ad set consists of parents, and plus button here plus. Mind, body, green, David. Usually I do this in alphabetical order, I guess, but who else do I have? Is that all I had in there? Mind, body, green. Oh, hey, that is. Okay, well, very good. So that's it. So that when I go back to look at this, I can see that very quickly. And I'm going to copy this right here. And I'm actually going to paste that into my ad as well. So I'm going to click on my ad right there. and I'm going to add something right here. So I know I'm doing the calculator, the opt-in calculator, which is not ideal for this audience at all, but just bear with me, you'll understand. I hope this all makes sense. So I'm going to do copy 1, like that's the first version of the copy that I'm using, and the image I'm going to use is the calculator. So if I was going to use an image of me, I would just put my image so that I can look at it quick and know what's out there. Okay. Now I'm going to scroll down and select my page. Oh, sorry. Okay. So now I've got my page connected. Since I'm not targeting Instagram, I don't have to worry about this. I'm going to create my ad. I'm going to select an image. If I haven't had an image, I'll upload one. This is the image I'm going to use. And the website URL. That's my website URL. The display URL, which is the part that goes right here, I need to go ahead and it has to be similar to whatever you put in your website URL. All right. So in this case, I'm just going to put one focus marking. That's good enough. Even if they click on this right here, it will take them to the landing page on the calculator. And so now it's time for me to just put, I'm going to put in the actual ad itself. So let's see here. Now, the question has always been, I think, we was talking about a little earlier, is, how much copy do you put in? Well, it depends. For the most part, I like to put in and when I say a lot of copy, because on the opt-ins, because I kind of want to tell them a little bit of a story and get them sold so that when they get to the landing page itself, I don't have to do much work. That's why the landing page. So this is the copy that I'm using. You can't count on Facebook spacing stuff out. So you want to use a lot of spaces in copy because people skim, they don't read. And the other thing that you can do is one thing you probably should do is, let's see, you can't do a lot of customization. But you can, capitalize things. So, that's the copy that I have for the ad. Just make sure that it's compelling for the reader, and that the points are easy for them to identify and highlight, and then and get to. And in hindsight, I probably would prefer to capitalize, this last part, sales. That you aren't quite sure what a sales funnel is, like highlight that, capitalize it. And so on the headline, which the headline is what goes right under the image. This is what I used before. So there that is. And so now you can see that change. So the headline here, a lot of people, they'll regurgitate whatever's in the image, and that's kind of a waste of space. So you want to I didn't want to put free sales funnel profit calculator. They can already read that. It's just, I want to put something else right here. Okay, so right here, the headline should just be something compelling for them, just like it should be in the regular text part of the copy. Now, as far as the newsfeed link description, this will not appear on mobile for the most part. So whatever it's the newsfeed link description, that's what will appear right here. It will appear on desktop. The only challenge is that you don't ever want to put something in the newsfeed link description that they have to know. Anything that they have to know needs to be in the text part. That's this part. All right. You just put kind of, bonus stuff in here. And so, and one other thing on your headline right here, change this top part to mobile so that you can see what it looks like. Okay, so this fits. But if I had any more words out here, another word, it wouldn't show. It'd just have ... right there. That's all it would show. So make sure that if whatever headline you have right here, it fits on mobile and desktop. And so So that's what I put in the newsfeed link description, and you can see that it comes up right there. And that's really all there is to it. That's all you have to do to input the ad. And I hope all that made sense. I know I went over quite a bit and covered a lot. If any of it seems confusing or not working for you or something like that, just reach out to me. Happy to help you. But once all that's done, you hit review changes. It will upload it to Facebook, and then your ads are ready to go. And so Facebook will approve them. Now, one thing I will tell you is that just because the ads don't start showing right away does not mean they're not working. Just give them, sometimes you have to give them a day to actually get going, and you have to give them a couple of days to start optimizing, and Facebook to start, actually showing them for you. So I hope that made sense. And, any questions, just reach out to me. Thank you.